Peace, peace, Saturday morning. What are you doing? I get up, I work all week, and we're gonna start gaming. We wanna get back to the gaming, get back to some knowledge. As you see in the description, we are talking about they all said the same thing. You just didn't notice. This is like a 101 into an understanding on how I think and the rabbit hole I went down. So as I play, we listen, and you have something to say, say it. Right? Right.
Extremely low frequency radiation and weather modifications. And
We're gonna start with
July 1986. I said that the top level intelligence organization
we're gonna
in
start
the
slow.
United States was the National Reconnaissance Office, far bigger than the CIA and any of the other intelligence agencies. And by the way, we haven't
Been working all week for these
I
fools.
even had
Now
your
it's a little time for
the address
myself.
of this organization. 3 weeks ago, Mr. Sam Donaldson, the gentleman who wears that beautiful two-piece over the face of it,
That two P's.
he came on with the program in prime time, and he said, "This is one of the biggest scoops that ABC has ever had." And he told about the National Reconnaissance Organization, the exact same thing that I published 8 years earlier. I tell you this to set the stage so that you understand that you have some experience, and that I know that of which I speak.
So here's what he's doing. He's not just making a claim. He's planting a marker in time, 1986. And he says he named the organization before the public was even supposed to know it existed. Because once you understand that layer exists, you stop thinking intelligence is just spies and meetings. It's reach, it's visibility, it's who gets to see the world first and who reacts second. And if a system like that sits above the usual agencies, then you have to ask a darker question. What sits above that? Watch this.
And I came across the families in Italy who were called the Fondi, meaning the people who had all the money.
The Fundy.
They were all members of the Committee of 300, the Lucatis, the Recanati.
The black nobility of Rome, the Venice.
People are so wealthy that they would make David Rockefeller look like a piker.
Like a
That's
piker.
how rich they are. And this is the committee that runs the world. Now, in my book, The Committee of 300, I name every one of them. This is not a book that talks about they. It gives you specifics.
This is where his story shifts from theory to names. Not they, not someone. He's saying, I can point to families. And whether you believe his list or not, the idea underneath it is real. Power doesn't reset every 4 years. It accumulates. It inherits. It survives scandals, elections, and headlines. Because the kind of influence that lasts isn't built on popularity. It's built on ownership, on access, on networks that don't need to introduce themselves. But even wealth isn't the whole machine. Wealth needs a way to move the world without showing its hand. And this is where it gets uncomfortable.
When former head of state Mikhail Gorbachev visited the United States a few years ago, flanked by George Bush and Quayle, he opened his Gorbachev Foundation in the United States. And he left them, he said, this is being done with approval of the Committee of 300. CNN cameras were on him. They immediately switched. Now, I wrote to CNN and I said, could I have a transcript of this program? Which they said was available. I never got a reply. I followed it up letter after letter, but nothing ever came of it. The point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, is that the federal government, the secret upper level parallel government that runs the United States, does not want you to know that you have an upper level parallel government that calls the shots, that dictates what is going to happen.
Call the shots.
Mine.
Concentrate fire on the target. That line changes everything. Because now he's not describing a
Let's
theory.
go.
He's describing a system that protects itself.
So as we listen,
Maybe there's an
we're
innocent
hearing about
explanation,
this system that
maybe
you
not.
should know about.
But the point is this. If influence can decide what gets recorded, then it can also decide what gets remembered. And once power becomes something you can't even trace, the next question isn't who,
Well, we
it's
on the
where.
T. We drink a
Where
little
does a
top
structure like
child.
that live? Because it wouldn't operate as a rumor. It would operate
We're gonna
through
go all day.
institutions. Pay
After
attention
this,
to this part.
we got
I
basketball
revealed the existence of an
later.
organization called the Royal Institute for International Affairs, located at Chatham House in 10 St. James Square in London. I also revealed the existence of the Club of Rome, the Cini Foundation, the Montelleran Society, the Order of St. John, which was known but not known, and I listed all of these secret societies that run each of the arms of the Committee of 300.
Happy Saturday.
The world through affairs is the executive arm of this committee, which gives instructions to the United States government to this very day. The chain of command is being appointed is appointed by the Royal
It's either
Institute
somebody
of
talking
International
about me,
Affairs.
they see your
That
ears
becomes a
dirty.
shock for you. You think you vote and you put a conservative in the White House, and then he appoints supposedly or allegedly conservative people to carry out the policies that you wanted him to implement. Surprise, surprise. I asked
Surprise,
you to
surprise.
a conservative secretary of
But
state
hold on, what did he say?
1990. I listed all of these secret
Surprise,
societies
surprise.
that run the world as executive arms of the Committee of 300. So it controls the world through all of these. The Royal Institute for International Affairs is the executive arm of this committee, which gives instructions to the United States government to this very day. The chain of command is as follows. Every Secretary of State that has been appointed since 1990 is appointed by the Royal Institute for International Affairs. That may come as a shock for you. You think you vote and you put a conservative in the White House, and then he appoints
Would you rather me in the house?
conservative people to
Outside
carry
being
out
crazy.
policies that you wanted them to implement. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
A conservative Secretary of State since 1919. And if you search diligently and apply the correct rules, you will come out blank. Every one of the
I didn't
Secretaries
place
of
that.
State was chosen in London by the Secretary of State, as was Wilson, the President Wilson, as was Roosevelt, as was James Earl Carter. He was specially chosen because he'd had 3 mental breakdowns, and they felt he would be a good guy to manipulate. Oh, I'm talking facts.
Different presidents, different parties, the same advisory structure. Because when policy is filtered before it even reaches an election, votes don't change direction, they change packaging. But institutional influence alone doesn't move societies. To shape real outcomes, it needs something stronger. Leverage, economic pressure, dependence that turns choices into necessities. And that's where the next phase begins.
This committee of 300 told a man called Aurelio Pecchi to form this public.
Oh, I'm 36? Oh, shit. I gotta play. I'm playing behind. I don't normally play behind.
And the agricultural development of the United States. He immediately wrote a paper in which he said there are too many people on the earth. That the United States, with its industrial development, its agricultural development, is responsible for this curse of overpopulation. So the Club of Rome was instituted and organized to start an attack on the world population, using the United States as the whipping boy. And they came up with a paper called the Zero Growth Post-Industrial Plan for Industry and Agriculture for the United States of America.
This is where his claims shift from politics to pressure. He connects the committee of the Club of Rome.
Oh,
He connects the Club
got
of
to
Rome
get
to
up. I
zero
got
growth.
to get back in the
And then he
league.
connects zero growth to one outcome, tightening the system. Now, you
Still
don't have
use
to
our
accept the
guys.
motive he assigns to it. But
Still
the
use our
mechanism
guys
is
and follow our guys. I wish I
the
could see
system's
what's
tight.
going on the
The
screen.
impact doesn't hit
They
evenly.
say due to your
The
laptop,
wealthy
but I did
buffer
it
it.
to my
The
computer.
poor adapt to it. And the middle absorbs it. Mortgages, wages, savings, stability. That's the layer that carries the strain.
EVE Online is a vast universe, alive with the unrelenting activity and combined history of its players, pursuing lives of adventure, warfare, and prosperity. They share this existence in the biggest single shard, free-to-play MMO of all time. Set 21,000 years.
Now listen closely to what he claims next.
The middle class in the United States of America have to be destroyed because in the coming push to world order, the middle class would be the stumbling block. Because history had shown that the peasant class in ancient days, when they had revolted, were just easily crushed. There was no resistance. But now had grown in the United States called the middle class. We had long-term employment, we had job security, we were well paid, we could afford to buy the products that were made by the United States and didn't need to buy products from China or anywhere else. And the Club of Rome post-industrial zero growth paper said this has got to stop. We have to bring down the middle class of the United States.
You got to take us down.
The way that we will accomplish this task is
What is it? 360?
Whether you call it policy,
I got it on a 360 camera.
the weight never lands evenly. It lands where society is most stable, the middle. Because the middle has something to lose. A job, a mortgage, a routine, a future. And when that layer weakens, dependence grows quietly. Not overnight, but structurally.
I felt that.
While ordinary people feel instability as pain, those above it
I felt
experience
that.
the same events as
Go
logistics.
to the left.
They hedge, they move assets, they buy buffers. And that's the real divide. Not what happens, but who it happens to.
So who's that?
Here's how Coleman explains it.
Gary's mom.
Celebrated its anniversary, and Alexander King, as chairman, stated, the American people henceforth
I don't even know how many
must
homes.
get used to the idea that they will never, ever again in their lifetime have full employment. What a scandalous thing that our government is fully cooperating with this organization built up by the Royal Institute for International Affairs to destroy the middle class of the United States.
The order is truly a secret society. It was founded in the United States
Fucked up on this one.
1933. It has
All the different angles got jammed up.
the order takes in 50 men, senior students from your university. Never more than 15. Once has it been less than 15. In 1946, they
just
took in
hard.
15 members. Shortly
Ain't trying to just par out.
secret society, which
Trying to bogey.
the last 150 years
17.
has accumulated
Oh,
about 25 members, of whom perhaps 500
only
survive
11?
today. Of these 500, perhaps 100 are actively in pursuit of the objectives of the order.
Damn, that was Bush.
15 recruits every year since 1833. And if this is real, it would explain why the world feels like it's accelerating. Like decisions are being made faster than people can react. Like we're being pulled towards something, and nobody voted for it. And maybe what we're seeing right now isn't the beginning of the story. Maybe it's the part where the system finally starts showing itself. Watch this.
It's not another college for town society. Yale University is the only university in the United States, or indeed the world, which has senior societies. These are societies where the 15 are selected in the junior year and actually are initiated at the beginning of the senior year. They stay on campus in 1 year as members. They are called ANIT. When they graduate, they leave the university, they go out into the world, and they're known as patriarchs. So at any one time, you only have 15 knights in existence, and for the rest of their lives, they're known as patriarchs. They work during their lifetime, a number towards the end of the order. They are pretty much guaranteed success. Certainly, they're guaranteed financial success. And in my
Listen,
reading
don't worry about that.
material I
Don't
have,
worry about that. Don't worry about that.
infer that so long as they go along with the purposes of the order, so long as they gear their careers
That's what we
and
do.
lives
Get out here
towards
Saturday
something
morning
else, then they are
to get on
guaranteed
the
success.
ChatGPT mid-journey videogram for on demand. Here's what actual.
Oh,
And here's the unsettling
back
part.
and fire.
If history really is being guided by pipelines like this,
KH.
then
No,
what
sorry.
we're watching right now might not be random at all. It might be the last phase of something
Getting
that's been
around
quietly for a long
first.
time. And the reason it's hard to see is because it doesn't feel like a takeover. It feels normal until you zoom out.
Peace, you here early morning. It's
And economists and researchers
my
spend years digging into power
sanctuary.
networks.
I'm a
Only a
gamer,
few got
but
that
damn,
far.
this work and all
But
this
once he started
life
exposing
and
the
all
entire
this
system
got me
on
away
TV,
from myself.
it
So
made
it's time to get back.
people pay
We got
attention.
all these things
Now
now.
let's just
I've
say
been
they
positioning
didn't
myself
exactly
with
let it
all
spread
these
too
little
far.
things so that
Watch
I can,
this.
Well, up to 6 months ago,
you know,
I did
present
not
something good at the start.
a conspiracy because
You know, it's
I
still
could
humble
not prove
beginnings,
I suspected a
but it
conspiracy,
don't have to look
but
janky
I couldn't
because
prove
we've
it
been studying,
until 6
we've
months
been
ago.
watching,
Well, just before 6 months ago,
and you know, I don't, other things going on.
which is
We
the
just
membership list of the society,
steadily moving properly.
and I received
You know, it might be
some
slower than some
documents enough for me to
for
put together
someone's liking,
the way they talk
but
about each other,
it is what it is.
the operations within the order. To some extent, they're problems.
If that's true, then we're not dealing with
But let's
conspiracy
listen.
talk.
Let's go back into
We're
this.
dealing with documentation. But even if you stay skeptical, and you should, what he describes next is something you can actually look up. A building on Yale's campus
This is,
with
they
no
all
windows
said the
and a
same
number that
thing.
keeps showing up in the strangest
You just
places.
didn't notice on YouTube.
322.
The order has a
Billy, this is your one-on-one. This is your first stepping block that you should
building, maybe
be aware of
50, 60 feet by
so
40
you
feet,
can
maybe 40
start
feet high, no
seeing
windows, two big
things
steel
out
doors.
here.
Okay, so pause. Because when most people hear secret society, they picture something vague, a rumor, a name, a symbol on the internet. But a temple is different. And what he's describing isn't subtle either. It's not a hidden room somewhere. It's a
I got a
building on
360 watch
campus
on my
with no
YouTube.
windows and steel doors.
Let's finish this tournament out.
Look, we can debate the bigger story later. But this
I'm not even
this
gonna mess
building
with the
is real.
settings.
Watch
You
this.
see my fit?
Know what the temple looks like
You
because
see the
back in
fit?
1880s,
On top, small.
a number of Yale students became a little unhappy about what was
No,
going
I
on
know it's
inside the
virtual.
temple.
Get
Only
it right.
when they went by it at midnight, sometimes they heard strange noises and all kinds of rumors on the
I
Yale
ain't gonna
campus
mess
as
with
to
the
what this
bag
might be.
or any
There was a
upgrades.
break-in. I call it the Yale
Those
gate.
settings.
There was a break-in to the temple, and the students who broke in cataloged what they found.
This is where it gets weird. Because you know how these stories usually go,
What's the
right?
difference?
It's always people say, or some believe. But he's claiming something more specific. He's saying there was a moment, way back, where the secrecy cracked. Students broke in. And according to him, they left with documentation. And what they found inside had numbers on the walls.
And they made a drawing, a design of the interior of the temple. And three of the rooms are numbered. One is 322, one is 323, and one is 324. 322 is also, I suspect, the chapter number.
And then he drops a number, 322.
You just
And
say
this is
that.
where the story shifts again.
It's a chapter
Because numbers
number.
don't work like symbols do. A symbol can be
This is in
interpreted
New Haven,
100
Connecticut.
ways,
I'm in
but
Middletown, Connecticut. We
a
could just
number usually points to something specific.
and go
And
shoot.
what he says next is the part that really stuck with me, because it
And the
implies
fact
that
that it's on
322 isn't
campus,
just
so
written
people
on a
could
wall.
see.
It's used as a
In a
signature,
minute, they're gonna be
as if it's a
coming down.
quiet way of saying, I'm
Especially
one of
the
you.
young ones. You know, I had to beat
322
them today. Today is the
an
day to beat them.
identification. And also in correspondence between members,
Should be
they
practicing more.
conclude their correspondence where you and I would conclude yours truly is sincere. They conclude yours in
Yeah, gonna
322.
come
And
with
this is
me.
where the name most people
Okay,
recognize finally
parenting.
enters the story. Because the order isn't how the internet knows it. It's known by something much simpler. Something that sounds almost childish
Great
until
work.
you realize how long it's been attached to real power. Skull and bones. And the number that keeps following it, 322. Now this is the part people usually skip past, because it gets uncomfortable. But it's also the part that explains everything. Watch this.
This is a symbol
This
of
is where I
death.
didn't
Now,
have
why
to
would they
use a
take a
driver.
symbol of death?
Yes, from what I understand, when a new member is initiated, that would be in the senior year at Yale, he's placed with
Then
an
I don't have to use a driver sometimes.
And from the photographs we have of members inside the temple, many of these photographs are the 15 sitting around a table, and they have this skull and the crossbones sitting on the table in front of them. It is the symbol of death, and it has been called the Brotherhood of Death, and I think it probably more adequately should be called the Brotherhood of Death.
Okay, this is where my brain stopped treating this like a rumor. Because up until now, everything could still be explained away. But this is the first detail that feels deliberate. Like it's designed to do something to you. And when you see rituals like this show up inside a closed network, you start asking a different question. Not, is it real, but what is it for?
Look at the history, the biographies of the leading
I'm
members of
really
the
more
order,
ritual
and
while
reconstruct
everybody
their
see
career,
it.
and see if there's a common pattern in their
I have my
careers. So, to come back to my point, I have to reconstruct the objectives. What are the objectives? In the words of one member, might is right. If you have the power, you use it to achieve your objectives. What is the objective? As you look at the
next
histories of individual members, it can only be one thing: to acquire power, to keep power, to use power for their own purposes.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44. There it is. That's the engine underneath all the imagery. Power. Acquire it. Keep it. Use it. And this is where the story starts tightening up. Because now the ritual makes sense. The temple makes sense. The code makes sense. It's not there to look spooky.
Damn, what the
It's there to create a machine, a pipeline, a loyalty structure, a network that moves people upward and keeps them aligned.
For example, Abel Harriman is a very influential member of the order. Harriman was initiated in 1913. His club number is D111.
It makes me think of D1.
All the other 14
D1
D111 have died off. Abel Harriman is the only one left.
Oh,
To
I
come
hate
to
when
the
I
other
do
part of the
these
question,
ones.
who are some significant members. Today, two men stand out. One is Abel Harriman, who is I suppose, the chief financial angel of the Democratic Party. The other is Vice President
Saving my
George
short game is
W.
good.
Bush. The Bush family is quite powerful.
Damn.
Now, if you go back in history a little, you'll find that George Bush's father, Prescott Sheldon Bush, is also a member of the order. He was a member of Brown Brothers Harriman, which is the Harriman private banking company. So today you've got two men who are supposedly in politics in opposition. Bush and Harriman, actually the members of the same secret society. And Bush's father was not only a member, he was a partner in what was then Harriman and Company, which later became Brown Brothers Harriman. So behind the scenes, this is something you don't see until you investigate it. People who appear to be in opposition politically or financially or industrially or in many ways are working together.
That's the moment where the story shifts. Because now it isn't just symbolism. It's a claim about alignment. About people who appear to be on opposite sides, moving through the same pipeline. And if that sounds impossible, he explains the method in one sentence.
The method they use is that of the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis played against antithesis leads to a synthesis. In other words, for Hegel, for history to make progress, you have to have conflict. And when you look at the key people in the order, you will find that they generate conflict. So Bush and Harriman politically are conflicting. Coffin and Buckley, although part of the same order, are in public conflicting with one another because conflict leads to the
Oh,
In simple terms, it's conflict by design. One side against the other.
you
And
hear
while
the two
everyone is trapped
conflict?
inside the fight, the outcome gets shaped somewhere else.
Yo,
If you've ever felt like the winning side changes, but the direction doesn't, this explains why. Now the question becomes, what's the point? Because if the conflict is engineered, then the outcome isn't random. And Sutton says the objective isn't just influence, it's bigger than money. He says it's a direction for the entire system.
We're under the control of what I call the cabal. And this is part of a grander scheme.
This is Paul Hellyer, the former defense minister of Canada, a man with access to classified intelligence and the inner workings of power. Now, he speaks candidly about what he witnessed behind closed doors and what's about to come.
And that's the end game. That's what they're moving toward. They've been working on it for 50 years. And it's well advanced. If something isn't done, they're going to get away with it.
He says there's a larger plan in motion, and we're moving faster toward it than most people realize.
How powerful are they? Well, they are so powerful that they have taken over control of the United States. There's so much that's been kept in the dark that it's going to take a lot of unwinding to get at the truth.
go.
The truth, we must see.
What you're about to hear might make you want to share this video, because he doesn't just describe the entire system. He warns about what's coming next, and whether we realize it or not, that moment may be approaching faster than we expect.
Happily, some of us are beginning to talk about that sort of thing, and people are saying, "You're kidding me." I said, "No, I'm not kidding you." But if it happens, just say, wave at them, and say, "We know you're playing games with us, and we're not going to go along with it. We're going to stand up for our rights."
Standing up for your rights can mean a lot of things. But in today's world, one of the rights most people have already lost is privacy. Because your personal information doesn't just stay with the websites you give it to. It gets collected, packaged, and sold by data brokers, appearing on people's search sites and databases most people don't even know exist. That's why I use today's sponsor, Incognito. Incognito automatically scans for places where your personal information is exposed and sends legal removal requests to hundreds of data broker sites, and keeps repeating those requests so your data stays removed. And if you find a site that still has your information online, you can use Incognito's custom removal feature. Just send them the link and their team handles the rest. If you'd like to check it out, go to incognito.com/advice and use the code ADVICE to get 60% off annual plans. Now, back to the video.
We're going to start with the money mafia, because it is the most urgent issue in the world today. The problem with the money situation is that there's only about one person every 100 who really understands it. And there's some, we think of money in some esoteric way of wishing, of course, we've had more. But it's a little complex.
Remember when someone else said the same thing? That the system is too complex to understand? Take a look.
But what I found was most people, what be in business, in normal life, or the world leaders, don't really understand money. It is something they think about. They have a sense of what it is. They certainly want more of it. But they also make statements like, we want more money, but we don't want more debt, which just shows a misunderstanding of what money at its core really is. So most people don't, they want to make it, they want to save it, but to understand it intimately just is not normal.
Money first, then everything else falls into
Don't worry
place.
about me.
Stay with me, because this part is key to understanding the bigger picture.
It's just as a result of a system which has grown up, which is designed to take us to the cleaners. And something can be done about it. Something must be done about it.
Now the explanation begins. And trust me, every piece matters. They all connect. So listen carefully.
So let's try to learn. What is money? Well, most people don't know. It used to be coins, silver, gold, copper, and some iron coins. But of course, we got too busy and too big to be able to do that. If you're going to buy a house, you can't
Come
put
on
a bank
now.
to pay
I should
for
be
it.
able to
And
do
so we
that.
started using paper money. And at first it was backed by some coins or things, and later, of course, it wasn't. But over the years, the system has changed to the point where today, only about 3% of all money is either coins or paper. 97% is virtual. And virtual means computer entry.
Money is just data now, which leads to the most important question of all. Who controls the data? Welcome to the next generation of website creation. Wix Harmony. Get the power of it.
The first and probably the brightest of the governors of the Bank of Canada said that money was just a book entry. If he were alive today, he'd say money is just a computer entry. Well, the problem is, whose computers? And that's where we have to do something about it.
But whose computers? You've heard it a million times. Follow the money. And coming from a former defense minister, it's worth at least hearing him out.
We, the people, own the patent to create money. We have licensed private individuals to do it for us. And they now create 97% of all the money, but they create all of it as debt. Debt on which interest has to be paid, and no one creates any money with which to pay the interest, so you just keep going further and further and further into debt. The whole system is mathematically absurd. It's more insane than insane, if that's possible.
Before we go further, let's take a step back. This didn't appear overnight. It started somewhere. And to understand where we are, we have to understand where it all began.
I want to just give you a bit of a background on the history of the system is multiplied and what we call bank leverage. If we go back 300 years when the Bank of Canada, Bank of England rather, was chartered, they lent half of their money or all of their capital to the king at 8%. So he gave them a license to print, PRINT, an equal amount, and lend it to their rich friends at high interest rates. So in effect, they were allowed to lend the same capital twice.
Now, we've all heard about printing money, inflation, the Federal Reserve. It's not exactly news. And sure, it doesn't sound great. But wait until you hear how he connects the dots. Because those connections, let's just say they're eye-opening.
But to understand, most people have the myth, observe the myth, that if you go to the bank to borrow money to buy a car, that what they're lending you is somebody deposit that somebody else made the day before or a couple of days before. Not so. They create the money. They're pretty well lent out all the time. So if you go in and say to buy a car for $35,000, and what they'll do is ask you for collateral, and if you have some stocks or bonds, okay, or failing that, you could give them a second mortgage on your house or your cottage. And if you can't do any of those things, you get co-signature of a rich relative. And once they're satisfied with the collateral, then they'll have you sign a note for $35,000, repayable principal and interest at prime plus 2 or 3%, depending on the color of your eyes. As soon as they're satisfied, they tap their computer, and $35,000 appears in your account that you can go and spend. Seconds earlier, that money did not exist. It was created out of thin air.
So that money didn't exist until the moment you borrowed it. But here's the funny thing. You still pay taxes when you buy something, then taxes when you own it, then taxes when you sell it. Taxes on top of taxes. It's almost like we're renters on our own planet, and the landlord always collects. Makes you think about the system we've all just accepted, doesn't it?
And as a result of that borrowing, we have paid $1,100 billion in interest since 1974. None of it, which was necessary. None.
He just gave you the number for Canada. The U.S. is sitting on $34 trillion in debt. Most of the world is in the red. But have you ever asked yourself, who's on the other side of that debt?
Damn it.
Who are we paying? If you don't have a clear answer, you're not wrong. So stay with me, because now he starts connecting everything.
Because it is all part of something bigger that's going on in the world, and that is to take away power from the people and give it to multinational corporations and banks who are under the control of what I call a cabal.
Yes.
And this is part of a grander scheme.
Maybe he's just an angry former politician with conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Or maybe he has insights that we don't. Either way, this is what he's saying.
Now, this is being engineered, as I said, by an international cabal. Now, what is a cabal? Is a group of people with the banking cartel at the apex, then the oil cartel, and then the international corporations, the transnational corporations, and then the U.S. intelligence organizations, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and a huge chunk of the American military. And they're all in it together.
He makes a lot of claims here. And look, I don't know if it's true. I don't have that kind of access. But it does raise a question. Why would all these groups be in it together? What's the goal? That's where things get really interesting, and where his claims become harder to dismiss.
As President Clinton said in response to a question by White House reporter Sarah McClellan, he replied, and I quote, "Sarah, there is a government inside the government, and I don't control it." Can you imagine?
Maybe from time to time we all get little clues like this one, and they say a lot, don't they? When a president says something of that caliber, even offhand, you have to ask, if he's not really in charge, then who is?
They control the free energy that we need. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that or not, but the same cabal owns the patents to free energy. And there are several different ways of going about that, but the most likely is what they call zero-point energy. It's the energy that's everywhere in the cosmos. It's unlimited. It could have been there long ago if it hadn't been for the fact that these people who are in control don't want to see any change.
He makes the strong claim about free energy, that we could have had it long ago. Whether you believe it or not, what comes next connects to something that affects every one of us. See what you think.
Well, the cabal is also responsible for the war on. The cabal is also, aka military-industrial complex. Dr. Carol Rosen, a friend of mine, worked with Dr. Bernard von Braun, who was one of the scientists who came in the United States at the end of the war, and he developed as he got older, and said the industrial military complex has to have an enemy to justify all of this money they're spending on. So they have to have an enemy, and if they don't have one, they have to manufacture one.
That's a lot to take in, and I don't know what to make of it. But here's where he shifts from theory to something more immediate, a warning about what's still to come and why we should pay attention.
After they get through with the ever do, is to stage a mock attack in order to get the people of the United States to accept martial law as the onset.
I gotta play to stay in.
Guys, what's interesting is that recently, and I mean really recently, Obama was on a podcast and started saying things like this. Listen to this. Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the president of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens? And then almost immediately, Trump reacted, almost reinforcing what Obama affirmed. Here's what he said.
Something that got a lot of attention this week. Barack Obama said that aliens are real. And it's non-human visitors to Earth.
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information.
Strange times. But Paul is not over yet, because he still has something to say to us.
Happily, some of us are beginning to talk about that sort of thing, and people are saying, you're kidding me. And I said, no, I'm not kidding you.
Oh,
But if it happens, just say,
what?
I believe that. And said, we know you're playing games with us, and we're not. We're going to stand up for our rights.
Maybe none of this is real. Maybe he went down the rabbit hole years ago and never came back. Or maybe he's right. But how can we ever prove it? He makes so many claims and most of them are impossible to verify. So where does that leave us? Confused, skeptical, unsure what to believe. But then there comes the part that resonated with me. The part I actually believe is true. Listen.
There was a time when Americans feared God, and we did too, but in the post-war period, we have worshipped money, power, and greed. And those have been the operative words. And so we think of nothing else. How can you make another God? We have to change. There's some wonderful things that are going on. There's some wonderful people in the world who are doing wonderful things. And what they need is the same thing 1,000 times over. We have to have a tsunami, as I call it, of changed lives, of people who are willing to put their lives on the line for what they believe and to change the world.
Role in the Middle East again. Does Israel play in this?
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the battle of Armageddon, the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that would be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. What is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity and government.
Right.
And I'm telling you, unless the American people wake up and stop it, starting in about 1996, Armageddon will become a reality.
He laid out the blueprint for everything we're seeing today. He knew why it had to happen, he knew who was behind the curtain, and he knew what we should expect next.
Read the book of Revelations, whether you believe in the book or not. Read it because the men who are bringing this about are using it as their script.
This interview was recorded in 1992, and as you listen, you'll understand why his blueprint still matters today. Because he said it would all unfold exactly like this, down to the smallest detail of the script.
And I get people who still come to me all the time and say, Bill, you're all wrong. It's the Jews. The Jews are subverting the world. Man, it's not the Jews. It's not the Catholics. It's not the blacks. It's these men who belong to the ancient mystery schools who need in secret to decide the fate of the world. And they belong to all different races and all different nationalities and all different religions to the public point of view. But in secret, it's a different story.
He claimed the fate of billions rests in the hands of a small group of people, and their strategy, he said, is simple. Keep us watching the circus so we never look behind the curtain.
At the highest levels, all countries, they all belong to the same club. And we, the people, sit back and we watch this grand drama, which is being played out for our benefit, not theirs. It wasn't for us. They wouldn't even have to do any of this. But you say they just can't come out and destroy all of us because they need slaves. They need people to make their shoes, make their cars, find the ore. They need worker bees. That's what we are.
God dang
His
it.
name is Bill Cooper, and what you're about to hear is his warning to the world. He believed that if you don't spare the time to hear this message to the end, if you don't make the effort to understand it and finally wake up, then you're participating in the great deception just as much as they are. His words, not mine.
Producers, this plugin helps you finish your tracks way faster. Check this out. I'm going to start with this loop that I made here. And I'm going to use CoProducer to fill out this song.
George Orwell was just like me. He was a low-level member of British intelligence who was appointed to a position high enough where he saw the same documents that I saw. And he tried to warn the world just like I'm trying to warn the world. But he wasn't willing to take the risk that I'm willing to take. So he wrote it in a book called 1984 and spelled out exactly what's coming as a warning to the people of the world, as a work of fiction. But you notice that that work of fiction really stirred people up because they knew that it wasn't fiction. In their heart of hearts, everyone who's read that book knows that it's coming.
Here's what Orwell understood. Control doesn't happen overnight. First you distract, then you divide, then you rewrite the rules so people don't even know they're being controlled. 1984 showed us the final destination, a world where nothing is true and everything is permitted except for those in power. For decades, that was just fiction. But now, more and more of the pieces are fitting together. The scenarios that were once ridiculed are beginning to look like the morning news.
Why is it that you are here today, or how is it that you are here today and you're not, conveniently taken away and put in a padded cell somewhere so that you can't speak of these things?
I can tell you this. I began to reveal information in 1976, and I was physically attacked on 2 occasions. My skull was caved in. That's what all the scars are here. On the second attack, I lost my leg. They visited me in the hospital. They had no intention of killing me. They were delivering a message to me. Shut up. And that was the message that came through loud and clear. And 2 men who identified themselves with identification cards who belonged to the Defense Investigative Service, which is really the Defense Intelligence Agency, asked me if I was going to shut up or they were going to have to do it right. And I told them, I said, you don't have to worry about me. I'm going to be a good little boy for the rest of my life. And, I'm going to shut my mouth. And I did for 16 years. Kept silent until I saw this.
You can talk conspiracies all day and people will just ridicule you, call you paranoid. But when you start talking about what you're not supposed to, that's when they come after you. At least that's what Bill said in the full interview. But now, he's starting to say things that make you pause. Look at the pattern. Why does every piece connect? If it's all just coincidence, why does it keep happening? Listen to this.
Either these men are following the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is in the Bible. They're either following it, just like a plan, and bringing the prophecies in there to pass, to manipulate and control those who believe in those prophecies and neutralize them, so to speak. In other words, if this is written in the Bible and God has ordained it, who am I to resist? It must come to pass, so I'm not going to try to stop it. What a perfect way to neutralize the opposition right off the bat. Or there really is a God, and what He said was going to come to pass is coming to pass. And I named this, Behold a Pale Horse, from chapter 13 of the book of Revelations. The fourth horseman of the apocalypse is the pale horse. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth.
Now, look at the 4 horsemen. Revelation 6 describes white, red, black, and pale. The Greek word for pale is chloros, greenish, the color of death. Some point to the red horse, war, as already writing. The black horse comes next. Famine, collapse. The verse describes inflated prices, scarcity. Some suggest it could be approaching. Revelation 13 describes a world where no one can buy or sell without a mark. Today, central bank digital currencies are rolling out globally. Is it the mark? No one can say. But the technology described, it's being built. Whether you believe it or not, some in power clearly do. Commanders quote Revelation, leaders invoke scripture. Bill Cooper said they're following a script. Look at the pattern. Something is lining up.
Everything that's in my book, Behold a Pale Horse, is all, everything in here, all the documents that are in here, everything that's in this book is in the public domain.
Can be substantiated?
Yes, and I intentionally wrote this book, not using anything that wasn't available to the public, to show people that yes, if I can find this information, so can you. I have tons of stuff that's not available to the public. But as you can see by reading this book, you don't need that stuff because it's what you need. is available to you. Public libraries are overflowing with the proof of what's really going on in the world, but nobody really utilizes it to the extent that they're able to pick this out and put it together. Another thing I've done for people is I've put it together for them so that they can see the overall picture, rather than looking at small things and thinking that it's isolated. Nothing is isolated. It's all part of a big puzzle.
Why is it that we can hear something this important and still forget it by tomorrow? Maybe we don't want to believe. Maybe we're scared. But I think it's something else. We're numb. Life grinds us down. Work, stress, the endless scroll. It all adds up. And then we turn on the news, hoping to understand. But instead we get noise, distortion, confusion. And that numbness becomes a habit, a survival mechanism. But what if that's exactly what some are counting on?
All media in this country, radio, television, and print, is all owned by 5 corporations. All of these corporations that own the media are owned and controlled, and members of the Council of Foreign Relations sit on the board of directors. But you can trace that yourself. Okay. Remember, if you go down and you trace the ownership of a station or a newspaper, and you get to a corporation, remember that somebody owns that corporation, and it's usually another corporation. But when you trace the interlocking of all these things, when you get to the top, there's 5.
How to create trendy t-shirt designs for your print-on-demand store. When it comes to creating designs for your t-shirt or apparel store, it can be hard to start from scratch. And that's why
And all journalists know that there's some things you don't write about and you don't talk about because you'll lose your job. And that's where the control is.
Let's try it, shall we? Pick a news network, any network. Let's start with CNN. On your phone, type, who owns CNN? You'll see it's owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. Good. Now type, who owns Warner Brothers Discovery? In 2026, that's changing. Warner Brothers Discovery just signed a deal to be acquired by Paramount for over $110 billion. Now type, who owns Paramount? Paramount was bought last year by Skydance Media, and Skydance Media is led by David Ellison. Now type, who is David Ellison? He's the son of Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, one of the richest men in the world. But keep going. Who runs CBS News? CBS is owned by Paramount, and the editor-in-chief of CBS News? Barry Weiss. She was appointed after the Skydance acquisition. Now here's the thing. Cooper said all media is owned by 5 corporations. That was decades ago. Today, the names change, but the pattern doesn't. You start with a news network, you end with a billionaire. And that billionaire, always connected to power. Try it yourself. Pick any network, any platform. Follow the chain, see where it ends. You might be surprised how fast you get to the same place. Let's continue, because this next part is about us.
That's what this is.
That's why they pay athletes these fantastic salaries. I was listening to the radio the other day. They just contracted to pay one player on one team $6 million a year. Can you believe this?
And why is that?
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive? And when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor? He sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum. And he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. He has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world. So that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is. So they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being manipulated. So they don't ever question the emperor. That's why they pay a player on a football team or a baseball team $1 million or $2 million or $3 million a year. It is the Roman circus. I know men who don't know anything in the world except who plays third base for the Mets. And they think that's a great accomplishment. And they meet and pat each other on the back and bond and go have cocktails and talk about what this guy that plays third base for the Mets did in last night's game. Sad.
God
Really
damn
sad.
it.
Juvenal, the Roman poet, said it almost 2,000 years ago. The people who once handed out military commands, high offices, everything, now restrains itself and anxiously hopes for just two things: bread and circuses. Bread and circuses. Today, the bread is your paycheck. The circus is the game. And while we're glued to the screen cheering for millionaires we've never met, the real decisions are being made somewhere else by people we'll never see. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. History shows that a society obsessed with entertainment often becomes easier to control. As long as we're watching, we're not asking. As long as we're cheering, we're not challenging. And as long as we're numb, they stay in power.
But let me tell you something. When 150 of the most powerful men and women in the world can meet in secret in Baden-Baden, Germany, and plot the fate of billions, and nobody even cares about it. But 6 football players go to lunch together, and it's in the headlines across the country. You have a reflection of the society in which that exists. And it is a sick society that is doomed to self-destruction.
So based on that scenario, there's some truth into what these men are looking at.
Absolutely. And that's what makes me so sick, is that I'm trying to wake up the people who on a daily basis are proving the ones I'm warning them now to be right.
Be honest. When was the last Davos meeting? And what exactly was proposed there? Most of us couldn't answer that because we don't care. We have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Netflix, we have our own lives, bills, work, relationships. Who has time to track what 150 powerful people discussed in a Swiss mountain town? And even if we watch a video about it, we forget it in seconds. The next scroll, the next notification, the next distraction. That's exactly what Cooper was talking about. While we're busy living our lives, decisions that affect our future are being made elsewhere. And most of us are simply too distracted to notice.
Right track. Don't believe anybody. Don't believe me. Don't believe George Bush. Don't believe anyone. You got to go out and you got to get proof in your hand before you can believe anything. And to do otherwise today is the biggest mistake that anyone could ever make. You begin believing people, putting your trust in them, that they're telling you the truth. I guarantee you, you're going to take a ride on a roller coaster you don't want to be on.
Do your own research. Don't jump in the comments and ask, so what do we do now?
What the 5% is
I'm telling you, use your mind. Because even these videos, they're not here to feed you conspiracy theories. They're here to engage you, to wake something up. Critical thinking is the point. It's better to put your mind to work than to wait for information to be handed to you. Because what if all the information out there is wrong? What then? We have to go back to the roots. Back to what we know is good, what we know is wrong. That inner compass, it's still there. We just stopped using it.
Your day-to-day covered with Base 44 super agents. Your life is chaotic. Set up a personal assistant in a click. Work, email, documents, your kid's calendar, everything synced and ready to move. Going over your emails, decluttering the noise in a single motion. Prioritizing what's left unread. Telling you what needs your attention.
And these people recognize the continuity of life. In other words, you told me earlier that they're after physical immortality.
They believe that through their technology, man will become God. It's power of reason. Through technology, man will himself become God. They will engineer, just like he wanted to do, the super race who will live forever. And the concept is the same. And the men behind it are the same as us.
Bill said more than 30 years ago that they would reach for immortality through technology. Back then, it probably sounded absurd. But now, look at what's happening. Neuralink has successfully implanted brain chips in multiple patients. One man used it to play chess just by thinking. Scientists at Harvard and MIT are working on age reversal technologies. Clinical trials are underway for drugs that could add decades to human life. The CEO of OpenAI said recently that we might achieve human-level AI within a few years. And after that, merging human intelligence with machines is the next logical step. Whether you believe that or not, it's hard to ignore that we're moving in that direction faster than anyone predicted.
No matter what your religion is or what you think, they're following the scenario in the book of Revelations to a T, right down to the last little bit. If you want to know what's going to happen in the future, if we don't wake up, and through the power of those, see, not one drop of blood ever has to be spilled, and no one has to ever put any chains on their legs or their arms. Ever. If people just wake up and exercise what was given to us in our Constitution, the power of the vote, while we still have that power.
So you say there is still a possibility for like one individual watching this tape to actually make a difference?
You better believe it.
How would that be so?
Will it work if I put
Well,
this
number
in?
one, learn what the truth really is. Get away from the fantasy that you've been living.
This?
Educate other people, those you know, your family. Once that begins to happen, it spreads. And then if the people decide that they don't want what they have in store for us planned, just through the power of the vote, they can make this country and the world whatever they want it to be. Whatever they want it to be. And there are no limits on that, except to understand that you can never make everything all right, and you can never make everything all bad. Both must exist, and we must maintain a balance.
If you stayed until now, you're probably one of those who's awake, or at least you're willing to be. And that comes with a responsibility. Be responsible with your mind. Use critical thinking. Bill said it himself. Don't believe him. Don't believe us. Believe what you can prove, what you can verify. But you have to do the work. You have to research. You have to stay awake. Because if you stay awake, others around you might wake up too. And that's how things change. Now, Bill has a final message for us. So, whoever has ears to hear, let them hear.
By abdicating responsibility, by not walking in that divine state of grace, makes possible anyone meeting behind closed doors to bring about the world that they want. And the world that they want is not the world that you want, or that I want, or that these people watching might want. If you don't participate, you can't complain. If you don't help cook the meal, you got no right to bitch about it. You got to sit down and eat what's put on your plate. If you don't like that, then you should have been in the kitchen helping to prepare the meal, helping to plan it, helping to prepare it, helping to serve it. If you want to sit on your butt in the living room while somebody else prepares the meal for you and decides what it's going to be and puts it on the table, it's too late to say that's not what you wanted to eat.
You should have been in the kitchen.
It's not cooked the way you wanted it to cook.
Well, that's very simple to
How
understand.
can I get in the kitchen when they hide in the
You gotta
kitchen?
eat it because you have to eat
They
it.
hide in the kitchen and the cooks.
I don't think that anybody can understand the
They
meaning behind that
get
story.
the ingredients in the front there and out there. How the front man say, yo, this is what you do.
27 years ago, somebody knew something.
Buckle up, because what you're about to hear is scary. Back in 1997, a group of futurists funded by a Washington, D.C. think tank and several three-letter government agencies wrote a book about what the world might look like in the future. And when you look at what they predicted back then, it's disturbingly accurate.
Now, this is the title of the book, 2025. Scenarios of U.S. and global society reshaped, there's that re again, by science and technology. You know what's so fascinating about this? It was published 27 years ago in the year 1997, and it was well funded, by a Washington, D.C. think tank and three-letter government agencies. But here's the thing, 1997, 27 years ago, and they write a book about a 500-page book about what the world's going to be.
A 500-page book filled with dozens of predictions. And according to some estimates, Nearly 90% of them seem to match what eventually happened. And the ones that haven't happened yet may be closer than we think. Because the remaining predictions go into things like World War III, mass starvation, global crisis, and much more. But instead of me going through the list, let's hear this gentleman explain it himself. Because this is actually how I first became aware of it while watching one of his videos.
Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating viral disease pandemics, genetically developed vaccines, smart IDs, 1997, and this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted not 2025, but by 2020, that people would be working from home virtually. Listen, that's World War III, of course. Nuclear devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices. This stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency. Vaccination programs run by organizations like the World Health Organization for a global killer that has yet to emerge. First printed February 1997.
The book is real. You can find it, you can read it, and these are not some far-fetched interpretations. Now, I would like to believe they're not right about everything, but we'll see. What we're going to focus on instead are the most important predictions that haven't happened yet, because we already know what took place. What's far more interesting is what this book says might still be coming. So let's start.
I want to now share with you some of the insights that these guys had way back in the mid-90s. Again, this is a well-connected think tank in D.C. They are funded and engaged with the wealthy corporations, the ruling class, the National Security Agency. And in 1997, they published this book, creatively titled 2025. And check this out. In the acknowledgments we read, our first thank you is to the sponsors, the people, and the organizations who made possible the original Project 2025 from which this book was created. What did they call it? It was called Project 2025? This book was published in 1997.
The project itself was led by futurist James Canton, an advisor in technology, national security, and economic forecasting. But what really raises eyebrows is the acknowledgments section in the book, because the authors openly thank the organizations that helped fund the original research behind it. Large corporations, technology companies, defense contractors, policy institutions. The kind of organizations that don't just observe trends, but often influence the direction of technology and policy. So the question becomes, were these simply educated guesses? Or were they looking at plans already being discussed behind closed doors? Either way, let's take a look at what they predicted.
10 things to expect if this Project 2025 from the mid-90s turns out to be correct about the remaining items that have not yet transpired. And before I list them, I want to remind us, these are not just, throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I mean, it's like 90% track record here. And they may not be right about all these either. But here we go.
Now brace yourselves, because if what you're about to hear ever becomes reality, things could get very ugly. Let's hope they got this part wrong. But listen to this.
They said we would have World War III. A nuclear device causing widespread contamination. Additional epidemics. Cyber attacks, or in their world, computer-based socially significant crime, such as tampering with air traffic control or national security systems. A global currency. Mass starvation. Now that, in and of itself, that's pretty heavy that we just considered. But given, again, the track record and how the things that they're announcing here, you also hear announced by the likes of Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and Jesuit Tide. We're going to see some pretty interesting stuff as we go forward, but we're just on Project 2025 from the 90s right now. Let's look first at the mass starvation. I was mentioning Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, WEF. He stated, we're going to have an angrier world. In the context of food and energy scarcity, we are going to have an angrier world. Those are his words. And so when he talks about an angrier world, and in the same interview, Klaus says that this angrier world world? Well, because of economic conditions, and that's why I see the need for a great reset. In fact, roll that clip right now, please.
We have to prepare for a more angry world, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
When you start looking around today, some of these ideas don't feel as far away as they once did. Conversations about global crisis, food shortages, cyber warfare, they're no longer just theory. The World Economic Forum often discusses scenarios involving systemic shocks, digital infrastructure attacks, and the need for a reset of the global system. You hear similar language from government reports, economic forums, and international policy meetings. The idea that a large cyber attack could disrupt entire countries, or that supply chains could collapse and trigger food shortages, is something even officials now discuss publicly. And when you see these same themes appearing again and again, it makes you wonder, were these futurists simply connecting the dots ahead of time? Or were they closer to the people drawing the map in the first place?
There is a Obama-produced film, a movie, that came out called Leave the World Behind. Why did the Obamas get behind this film? The film, I won't be able to tell you that, but I can tell you what the film is about. It's about an apocalyptic scenario after the grid fails, and there's a grid down crisis because of cyber attacks. And this comes out, again, right before 2025. And then you go back to 2014 with the release of a video game, which also has scripts like movies do. And this Black Ops 2, major prominent video game, the script writers for it were consulting with the Wall Street Journal calls the premier futurist in the national security space. So the top Pentagon futurist was consulted for the script on this video game. And what is the script for the video game? Well, the object of the game is to prevent a cyber attack in the context of a new Cold War with China. And guess what year this video game is set? Again, this came out in 2014, and the video game is set in 2025. So we're starting to see kind of a pattern here, are we not?
But isn't it a little strange, that film produced by the Obamas? I mean, why that topic? And why now? And why do we keep hearing about these kinds of scenarios more and more often? Every now and then, authorities even suggest that people keep some emergency cash at home, enough for about 72 hours, just in case ATMs or payment systems suddenly stop working. So you start to wonder, what's really going on here? Maybe it's all just coincidence. I don't know.
We look at World War III, and we look at their predictions that a nuclear device causing widespread contamination will take place. This might sound outlandish, but keep in mind that since 1945, with the invention using of the first atomic bomb, there have been, in Cold War history, 16 near-miss nuclear events. And historians and national security experts estimate that about 1%, you have about a 1% chance in any given year of having a nuclear exchange. A 1% chance, and over a 100-year period of time, you'd expect it once. If you get halfway through that, you feel like, we're living on borrowed time. Well, we're like 80% of the way through a 100-year period of time since 1945. So it's hard to expect the unexpected. It's hard to foresee that which our normalcy bias doesn't allow us to see as potentials. We lose imagination because we see only the thing immediately in front of us. But this is something that the Project 2025 futurists are saying to expect. And again, we see war, epidemics, starvation. Now let's do it in the proper order from the Bible again. War, starvation, epidemics. Now those are 3 of the 6 that are up there from that pale horse.
God forbid something like that ever happens. I really hope they got this one wrong. But sometimes it almost feels like the scriptures are right on point.
Welcome to Wix Harmony. Take the speed of AI and pixel level control to go from words into a full website that's entirely yours to shape. Need a new page, section, or a restyle? Ask Aria, your personal AI agent. And boom, there it is. Naturally. Between generating and doing it yourself, this is the new way to create. Wix Harmony.
And then we out.
Now, here are the last 4 predictions we're supposed to expect. Listen to this.
Now, the last 4 predictions that they make here, we got 10 things to expect if they're correct. Universal monitoring of business transactions. Smart ID cards. Now, watch this. This gets even more interesting. smart ID cards, including your religious and or organizational affiliations and perhaps with your genomic data. I had to take a picture of that segment out of the book, put it on the screen so you can read it for yourself. Identification cards will be universal. Smart cards will contain information such as nationality, medical history, perhaps even key data from one's genome, education and employment records, financial accounts, social security, credit status, and even religious and organizational affiliations.
Now, that might sound a little far-fetched, but remember, this book was written almost 30 years ago, and many of its predictions have already happened. So before we dismiss the rest, listen to this.
The ninth one kind of sounds innocuous and not that big of a deal. It's just Social Security will be based on need only. The technical term for that is means testing for transfer payments or other forms of welfare. Means testing meaning only those who need it will get it, and they're making a prediction that will be the case with Social Security. Some people might be a little have their feathers ruffled by that notion, but I'm not meaning to get into the economic political debates about that. I want to bring this out because if they will means test it, then they will also be willing to take the next step, and that is ideological testing. Happened with the truckers in Canada. Bank accounts frozen, the targeted group, anybody who is the other, who is the demonized group of the day, can have now the precedent has been set in the West to be debanked, to have payment processors taken, to be prohibited from platforms that are kind of in that woke ideology at the moment. And so the fact that they're saying, well, you're not going to get your check unless you need it, that can step right next to the next stop on that journey toward tyranny. You're not going to get your food. You're not going to be provided for in a context of scarcity and famine.
Now, I don't even know which one is scarier, because honestly, all of them are terrifying. But it does seem to be getting clearer, doesn't it? They wrote about things like this almost 30 years ago, and today we keep seeing the same themes everywhere, in movies and video games. Some people call it predictive programming, the idea that certain scenarios are introduced in culture first, so that when they eventually happen, we're not that surprised. Now, I'm not making any claims here, but you do start noticing similar conversations popping up everywhere. Technologists talking about the future, even people like Elon Musk discussing ideas like universal basic income. Some billionaires quietly building underground bunkers, and more of these signals appearing at the same time. So, what's really going on? What are they preparing for? What do they know that we don't? Anyway, let's keep going, because what comes next is very interesting.
This kind of leads right into another one while we're on number 9 about the Deagle Corporation. This was a major intelligence outfit that they were cited by and utilized by Stratfor, which is probably the biggest global intelligence corporation there is. And Stratfor cites the Deagle, so they're a major player in intelligence developing and publishing. And they made a prediction that by 2025 there would be a reduction. Look in the red of population in America from 327 million to 100 million, and GDP would drop from 60,000 per person to 24,000 per person. Now, this is not to say that this will happen, but that's quite an alarming prediction to make. Why would you go out and say that? Well, it's in the context of here, what we were talking about. It's mass starvation and global currency and major war and epidemics and cyber attacks. This is where you see massive population reductions and economic collapse. But I love their little disclaimer here. They first, this isn't the disclaimer, that'll be on the next slide, but first they say this: the collapse of the Western financial system will wipe out the standard of living of its population while ending Ponzi schemes such as the stock exchange and the pension funds. Take into account that the forecast that they've made here is nothing more than a model, whether flawed or correct. Okay, here's their disclaimer. It's not God's word. This is not God's word. This is not a magical device that allows us to see the future. Now, if you're planning the future and announcing what you're going to do ahead of time, then that's not a prediction. But these guys are just making predictions, and they're saying, you know what, this is flawed. This could not transpire as badly as we're seeing, which makes me feel happy about that situation, about a population reduction of that magnitude and economic collapse. But whether it's going to happen or not isn't even so much the question as when.
These three organizations themselves are founded by something called the occult. The occult is just basically hidden, secret knowledge not available to people.
Professor Zhang.
Professor Zhang.
Professor Yang.
Professor Zhang has been showing up in feeds everywhere lately, not because he's chasing fame, but because people listen to what he says, and then they watch the world prove him right. Before the last election, he called it. Before J.D. Vance was on anyone's radar, Zhang named him as VP. Before the war with Iran escalated, he laid out exactly why it would happen and when. So when someone with that kind of track record starts talking about hidden systems and secret knowledge, you pay attention. I spent time going through his work, pulled out the theories that explain the world we're actually living in, the questions we all feel but don't know how to ask. Who's really in control? And why does it feel like we're just watching it all happen? This might not be comfortable, but if you've ever felt like something's off, like the story doesn't match what you're seeing, this video is for you. So settle in, because Zhang is about to show you what's really going on behind the curtain. And by the end, you won't look at the world the same way again.
Make images that impress at the speed of AI. Describe an idea and watch it appear. From prompt to polished PDF. Adobe Acrobat Studio. Welcome to Roku. Roku makes every part of the TV experience better, including the ads. You get massive reach across multiple streaming apps and channels, all in one place, so you can reach your audience wherever they stream. It's easier than ever with Ads Manager, Roku's self-serve ads platform. Bottom line, better TV for everyone means better advertising for you. Ready to get started? Sign up today.
Oh.
The first thing you need to understand, which is very hard, is that our world is a hallucination. It's a collective fantasy. Hallucination. Not sometimes misleading or a bit subjective, a full-blown shared hallucination. And he's not being poetic, he's being literal. He takes us straight to Plato's cave. You know the story. People chained, staring at a wall their whole lives, watching shadows, thinking those shadows are the whole universe. They give the shadows names, they build a language around them, they tell stories, wars are fought over which shadow is real, generations pass, and never once do they turn around. Zhang says, that's us. That's now. The economy, the borders, the stock market, the news, the rules-based order. All shadows, all projected by something we can't see. Here's the part that hits different. He says we're not forced to stay in the cave. The chains aren't even real. They're ribbons. Anyone could walk out. But nobody does. Because we love the cave. We're emotionally welded to it. And if someone comes back from the outside and says, hey, those shadows are real, we don't think them. We kill them. I had to stop for a second when I heard that. Because it's not just a story about ancient Greece. It's happening right now, every time someone questions the narrative. Think about that the next time someone calls you crazy for questioning the script. He's setting the table here. And trust me, what's coming next will change how you see everything. But first, we have to accept one thing. The world you think you're living in, it's a projection, a game, and someone built it. So yeah, we're not prisoners, we're volunteers. The question is, what are you volunteering for? It is our conscious attention that creates wealth in this world. And it's really money or capital that extracts and stores our consciousness and turns it into wealth. This is the sentence that changes everything. Zhang isn't talking about economics. He's talking about alchemy. Think about what he laid out before this. The vase example. You focus, you pour your attention into making something beautiful, and that focus makes it valuable. That's the raw material, consciousness. Not labor hours, not resources, but attention, focus. The stuff you're using right now to watch this. Now follow the trail. You work, you create, you focus. At the end of the week, you get paid. What just happened? You traded your consciousness for pieces of paper or digital numbers. Those pieces of paper, money, are just frozen attention. They store your life energy until you spend it on someone else's frozen attention. Zhang says this is the hidden engine. The whole global economy is a machine designed to extract consciousness.
You hear that? That's what money is. Store consciousness. Someone else's consciousness. Like, so what are we doing?
Think about that the next time someone calls you crazy for questioning the script. He's setting the table here. And trust me, what's coming next will change how you see everything. But first, we have to accept one thing. The world you think you're living in is a projection, a game, and someone built it. So yeah, we're not prisoners. We're volunteers. The question is, what are you volunteering for?
It is our conscious attention that creates wealth in this world. And it's really money or capital that extracts and stores our consciousness and turns it into wealth.
This is the sentence that changes everything. Zhang isn't talking about economics. He's talking about alchemy. Think about what he laid out before this. The vase example. You focus, you pour your attention into making something beautiful, and that focus makes it valuable. That's the raw material, consciousness. Not labor hours, not resources, but attention, focus. The stuff you're using right now to watch this. Now follow the trail. You work, you create, you focus. At the end of the week, you get paid. What just happened? You traded your consciousness for pieces of paper or digital numbers. Those pieces of paper, money, are just frozen attention. They store your life energy until you spend it on someone else's frozen attention. Zhang says this is the hidden engine. The whole global economy is a machine designed to extract consciousness from the many and concentrate it into the hands of the few. The elite don't get rich because they're smarter or work harder. They get rich because they own the storage units. They control the mechanism that turns human awareness into wealth. Then he gives an example that changes how you see everything. He lists the old storage devices, pyramids, Homer's epics. Each one soaked up generations of human attention. Pyramids weren't just tombs. They were concentration camps for consciousness. Millions of Egyptians poured their focus into those stones, believing, building, obeying. The stories of Homer did the same for Greeks. Centuries of attention stored in poems. Now the storage device is the dollar. Every time you work, save, spend, trade, you're pouring your consciousness into the system, and the system stores it as digits in someone else's account. It's the most efficient extraction machine ever built. But Jiang drops one more line that changes the game.
There's such a war going on for the soul of humanity, for the human consciousness between the US dollar, the old world order, and artificial intelligence, the new world order.
The dollar needs human consciousness to function. It runs on your attention, your labor, your focus. AI doesn't. AI generates its own attention, its own focus, its own value. So the old storage device is fighting the new one. Not over markets, not over resources, over the source code of reality. That's the real war. And it's just getting started.
They don't force us to do anything. There's not enough of them. Okay? The way they maintain power is through manipulation and trickery and deception.
Many people imagine the elite as some shadowy cabal with armies and mind control rings. They pull levers, we dance. Zhang says no, that's a Hollywood fantasy. The truth is more humiliating. They can't force us. There aren't enough of them. If everyone on Earth woke up tomorrow and decided the game was over, what would they do? Send their tiny army against 8 billion people? They'd last about an hour. So, how do they hold it together? Manipulation, trickery, deception. This new AI tool is a game changer for POD. Just watch me turn one design into 10 sellable products in under 2 minutes without starting from scratch. We'll start with a template or even just a rough sketch and let Kill Flows create professional variations. Then create different styles, colors, and compositions all with just one click. Let me show you exactly what I mean. I'll open this best-selling design, and now watch this. I'll click on Add Smartboard, and now I can just write what I want to change about this design, including changing the text and the graphics, and I can turn it into a different style, like vintage, and it recreates the entire design in seconds. Now, what if I want different colors or different fonts? Well, I'll just add another smartboard and generate more options. And if I want a different layout or a different size, or to see what it...
Go back to the cave. Watch what happens when that one guy finally stands up.
He or she starts messing around with the chains and realizes these aren't chains. These are just like ropes. I can just like get rid of them. And this chain around my neck, it's like a ribbon. I can snap it off. And he doesn't know why he does this. But he does this. He does do this. And when he does this, they don't even care. Like, whatever, man. Do whatever you want.
They don't even stop him. They just watch him stumble toward the light like, whatever, man, do your thing. Why? Because they know something he doesn't. Even if he leaves, everyone else will stay. The system doesn't need guards. It needs believers.
You think they have magic, and you think that they're evil, but really, all their power rests on our belief in their power.
Read that again. All their power rests on our belief in their power. The president, the banker, the general, the billionaire, none of them have power you haven't given them. You believe the dollar is worth something, so it is. You believe the cop has authority, so he does. You believe the election matters, so it does. It's a collective hallucination held together by consensus. And here's the part that got me. We want to believe. Because if it's all fake, then what have we been doing with our lives? What were our parents doing? What were their parents doing? That realization is too heavy for most people to carry. So when that guy comes back from outside the cave and says, hey, those shadows are real. They don't thank him. They don't debate him. They don't even chain him up.
But we fall in love with it. We're so attached to it psychologically and emotionally that if anyone tells us it's fake, we kill them for it.
Not the elite, the other prisoners. Because he's threatening the one thing they can't live without, their fantasy. That's the mechanism. That's how manipulation works. You don't need armies when people will kill the truth tellers for you. So next time someone calls you crazy for questioning the story, remember Jiang. They're not defending the truth. They're defending their cave. And they'll kill you for it if you let them.
You think that you go to university to learn knowledge. No, you don't. You go to university to be brainwashed and to believe that the system is not just fear, but actually what really makes the system work is the rules-based natural order.
You spent years in classrooms, took loans, wrote papers, chased grades, and Jiang says that was brainwashing. Not education, brainwashing. He's not talking about conspiracy theories where professors secretly indoctrinate students with leftist propaganda. That's too small. He's talking about something deeper. The real brainwashing is the assumption that the system is basically just. That if you work hard, play by the rules, climb the ladder, you'll get what you deserve. That the game is fair. That the winners earned it, and the losers didn't try hard enough. That's the core belief they install. Not through overt propaganda, but through the entire structure. The way classes are graded, the way success is defined, the way history is told, the way economics is taught as if it's physics, not a set of choices made by powerful people. Jiang adds 2 more layers.
CNN, BBC, New York Times. Each time you read an article, you think you're receiving news. You're not receiving news. You're being brainwashed into believing that the order is fair, just, and appropriate, okay? It's a deception. And the last, of course, is culture, which is Hollywood. And, television shows, sitcoms, okay? Things that you absorb every day.
Education, media, culture. 3 overlapping machines running 24/7, pumping out the same message. This is just how things are. The rich deserve their money.
The poor deserve their poverty. The wars are for freedom. The sanctions are for peace. The dollar is strong because America is great. You never hear a competing story because there is no competing story. The machines are all owned by the same people. They don't need to coordinate. They just need to hire people who already believe the story and will tell it well. And here's the part that makes it work. Zhang says this creates a legal and moral framework so effective that the elite don't even need to enforce it.
If you break the rules, it's not that the elite will come after you. They don't have to come after you because everyone else will come after you.
That's the final stage of control. You don't need cops when the citizens are the cops. You don't need thought police when everyone polices everyone else's thoughts. If you question the fairness of the system, you're not just wrong, you're dangerous. You're attacking the fantasy everyone else is invested in, and they will turn on you faster than any authority figure would. So the next time you're in a conversation and somebody says, but that's just the way the world works, remember Zhang. They're not being reasonable. They're being the prison guard, and they don't even know it. So after showing us the cave and how money extracts consciousness, Zhang does something else. He pulls the camera back.
Another way of understanding it is to think of them as the game masters. Okay? The ones above us who constructed the game and determine the rules of the game as we play it.
Game masters. That's what he calls them. Not presidents, not CEOs, not elected officials. The ones above all that. They built the board. They wrote the rule book. He traces the chain upward. At the very top, something called the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland. The central bank of central banks. Above governments, above laws. Think about that for a second. Then below it, the World Bank and the IMF. Organizations that tell countries how to behave if they want to play. Then below them, the national central banks. The Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the People's Bank of China. This is the operating system. And what does this operating system produce? A game. A cool game with one purpose. To use the US dollar as the main mechanism for extracting and storing wealth.
Okay, so resources are considered the cheapest. Even though in reality it should be the most expensive, right? Because resources are limited, they're finite. Above resources, of course, is manufacturing. And above manufacturing is knowledge economy.
Get this one.
And then the highest is finance.
Now watch how he connects it. The game masters built a price hierarchy. Not based on real value, based on control. At the bottom, resources. Oil, gas, minerals, food. The stuff you actually need to survive. Priced cheapest. Above that, manufacturing. Turning resources into products. Above that, knowledge economy. Patents, software, media. And at the very top, finance. Moving numbers. Creating debt. Printing money. Then he drops the map.
So resource, of course, would be Russia. Russia, the Middle East, the GCC, okay? Saudi Arabia, these places, okay? So these places provide resources. Manufacturing then would be China, right? Knowledge would be Europe. And the Five Eyes, okay? Basically the Anglo-Spirit, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Britain, and then finance, of course, the United States.
This is the board. This is how the world is divided. Russia sits on resources and sells cheap. China manufactures and ships. Europe and its allies own the ideas. America sits at the top, collecting rent on everything. Zhang isn't saying this is fair or unfair. He's saying this is the structure. The game masters designed it this way. And if you're born in Russia, you play the resource game. Born in China, you play manufacturing. Born in America, you play finance. You don't choose. The game chooses you. But here's where it gets interesting. Two countries inside the system hate it. China and Russia are playing, but they're playing to change the rules. And two countries aren't even allowed on the board.
If the United States doesn't like you, what it can do is not allow you to play this game. And these countries, of course, would be Korea and Iran, among other countries, okay?
Iran sits on resources. By the game master's design, they're supposed to be at the bottom, selling cheap, taking dollars, staying quiet. But they're not playing. They're outside the game entirely. And they're poking at the structure. This is the setup for every war, every sanctions package, every color revolution. Not ideology, not freedom, not democracy, just game masters protecting their board. The question is, what happens when the players stop following the rules?
First, of course, is intelligence. What is intelligence? Spies, okay? Their job is to infiltrate other nations' elites and co-opt them into the system. That's what they do. Okay? That's what intelligence does. Then you have crime. Crime just engages in the most profitable enterprises, which includes, of course, drugs, human trafficking, and something called money laundering, okay? And this is a way to incentivize the global elite to work together. Okay, so that's the first two. And then there's one more mechanism called science. Now you think that science is about pursuing the truth. No, it's not. Okay? Science is fundamentally about finding evidence to justify and protect the status quo.
Three systems, operating above nations, above any law you can vote for, above any government you can change. Intelligence. Their job is to infiltrate other nations' elites and co-opt them. You don't need to invade a country if you already own the people running it. You don't need to win an election if you control both candidates. Intelligence agencies become integration tools, merging global power across borders. Crime. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Jung doesn't moralize, he just observes. Crime engages in the most profitable enterprises. But here's the move. He says this creates incentives. When elite money flows through the same channels, when deals cross the same borders, when secrets become shared liabilities, they're not enemies anymore. They're partners. Science. This one cuts deep if you've built your worldview on it. It's not about pursuing truth. It's about finding evidence to justify and protect the status quo. That's why certain questions never get funding. That's why certain answers never appear in journals. That's why materialism is the only allowed framework. It keeps the conversation inside the fence.
Science is fundamentally about finding evidence to justify and protect the status quo.
Think about what that means for every study you've ever trusted. Every expert who told you the system is fair. Every Science Says headline that shuts down debate. The machine doesn't produce knowledge. It produces permission. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now here's where Jung ties it together.
And these three organizations themselves are bounded by something called the occult. And we'll discuss this later on, okay? The occult. The occult is just basically hidden, secret knowledge not available to people.
Hermetic philosophy, the Kabbalah, not religion you practice on Sundays. Operating systems for people who see themselves as above the game. This is the architecture. Intelligence co-ops, crime connects, science justifies, and underneath all of it, a shared worldview you're not invited to. Not a conspiracy, a structure. And like any structure, it has load-bearing walls. Jung is about to show us where they crack. So after building the whole architecture, Jung asks the question, if this is real, there have to be people moving through it. Operators, people with names.
And it is true that the system is the way it is. There should be individuals in place that operate the system. Right? Well, I'll give some names. I'll give you two names. Jeffrey Epstein.
Here.
And Jared Kushner.
Jeffrey Epstein. You know the public story. But look at who trained him. He started at Dalton, one of the most elite schools in America, where the most powerful families send their children. Then Bear Stearns, finance. Then Douglas Lee, arms trafficking. Iran-Contra, one of the biggest global arms dealers. Then Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, intelligence. That's not a random career path. Someone was teaching him how power works across all three systems: education, finance, crime, intelligence. Then look at the Epstein files. 3 million documents released by the Department of Justice. Not leaked, released on the government website. And what do they show? Bill Gates, the wealthiest man in the world, begging Epstein for money. Elon Musk trying to arrange meetings. Larry Summers and Steven Pinker dining with him at Harvard. Prince Andrew emailing him classified government reports. Not because Epstein was charming, because Epstein represented something. He said it himself. I represent the Rothschild. Your money is fake. I represent real money, real power.
These families? How the Rothschilds?
The heck?
There's
What is happening?
your bad movement. And you're like, this whole conspiracy. This can't be true. Well, it's all true.
And here's what this network does with all that access. In 2011, America bombs Libya. Gaddafi falls. The country collapses. And Epstein and his friends are already emailing each other, calculating how to profit. Frozen assets, reconstruction contracts, oil reserves. They're not watching the news. They're reading the balance sheet.
They look at geopolitics and they're like, how can we take advantage of geopolitical events to make the most money for ourselves?
Base 44 super agents. The next thing you can't live without. No setup. Just say hello. Every tool you already use, plugged in, and click. And away it goes. Analyzing the
Why
code
you gotta play? Why you gotta use your controller to do anything?
before it's finished your morning coffee.
We're going in.
Sit back while it understands your portfolio. Builds and tracks dashboards and finds your next big thing. Scaling your voice.
The second name is Jared Kushner, son-in-law to a president. Real estate developer turned Middle East peace negotiator. There are photos of him with Putin, with Netanyahu, with the Omani foreign minister. And the question John asks, what are they actually discussing? Not peace. After the war, Ukraine gets rebuilt. Who gets the contracts? After Gaza, someone builds the luxury villas. Who gets the land? Kushner isn't negotiating ceasefires.
Turn your controller
He's
on
positioning.
and let the person
The FBI's own confidential source at Epstein wrote in their files that Kushner moved Russian investment money through family charities. That the real Russian collusion story wasn't about Trump. It was about Kushner's network. And that on the night Trump was elected, Ivanka and Jared Kushner were at the grave of Rabbi Sneerson, leader of the Shabbat Lubavitch movement, whose followers include Netanyahu and whose network connects across intelligence, finance, and religion. This is the network. These are the operators. They move between education, finance, intelligence, real estate, not as separate roles, but as one integrated machine. The files are public. The connections are documented. Epstein is dead. Kushner is still dealing. And the machine is still running. So here we are. We walk through the cave with John. We saw the shadows on the wall, the game masters of us, the pyramid that stores nations like products on a shelf. We follow the money, consciousness frozen, stored, extracted. We watch the operators move through education, finance, crime, intelligence. We read the files, we saw the names, traced the connections. It's a lot. It can feel heavy, like the game is rigged, and you just now realize you can play your whole life without knowing the rules.
And King said outside.
But here's the thing John planted
It was
underneath every word he said.
272.
The chains are ribbons. They only hold you if you believe they hold. The game only exists if you play. Where you put your attention is where you put your life. Jung showed us that. The vase is valuable because someone focused on it. The pyramid exists because billions of people focus on the dollar, the news, the grades, the promotions, the status. The system runs on your attention. It always has. So what happens when you start paying attention?
Last time I used this controller, I still reached.
Today's the day.
I came back.
Watching clouds and
Today's the day.
I learned
When you have a conversation where no checks their phone, when you make something with your hands and don't photograph it, when you sit with someone who's hurting and just stay present, you're not overthrowing anything. You're just withdrawing your energy from the hallucination and investing in what's actually real. The people in front of you, the ground under your feet, the breath in your lungs, the mystery we'll never fully understand. Jung showed us the architecture. He didn't show us how to escape because escape isn't the point. The point is to see clearly enough that you stop being a volunteer, to recognize that the game is optional,
And I didn't
to
start it
understand
on
that the game
easy, so
exists, but so does the light outside it. And no one is stopping you from walking toward it, except your own attachment to the shadows. So maybe the move isn't to fight the system. Maybe the move is to build something that the system can't touch. A life so full of real attention, real connection, real presence, that the hallucinations lose their grip. Not because you defeat it, but because you
wait,
stop.
who am I supposed to pass to?
The war between the dollar and AI, the civil war among the elites, the pyramid, the operators, the files, all of that will keep spinning. It always has.
stepping back?
But you don't have to spin with it. You can just be here, now, breathing,
Okay,
alive in a world that is far stranger and more beautiful than any
who am I
shadow.
supposed to pass to?
Everyone on your team.
When you do that,
Oh,
it's your
shoot.
choice.
But you get to shoot the threes, though.
The door was
That's
never
what you're
locked.
supposed to do.
It was never going
And
to
I'm
be.
supposed to pass to these
It was
guys.
just a shift in attention. And that shift is because of you. Right now. Quick reminder, if you'd like to check it out,
So
go
I
to
gotta do what I know how to do.
Kanye.com/advice and use the code ADVICE to get 60% off annual plans.
Hey, would you like your very own Shopify store? We're literally completely free.
Yeah, this shit is on easy.
We are live streaming right now. If you click the link below this, we are live streaming. My brother Adrian and I, we're two of Shopify's top
you know you can't do
affiliate partners, and we are currently building
semi-pro
Shopify
since you want
stores
to
for people
try.
completely free. And again, live stream. You just click the link, you'll jump onto this live. We'll build your store before you even get off of the live stream. We're doing this all day today, by the way. Don't know if we'll be doing it tomorrow, so click the link to make sure you join us. But we're not just building your store. We're also putting 20 of the top trending products on your
Last time I
store
was getting mad.
so that you start off with something and you don't have the first question, oh my gosh, what do I sell? Of course, you can add whatever you want to your store, but we're going to start you off with 20 of the top trending products that we know are selling right now. Okay? And then also, just so we're clear, we're not going to sell you a course. All right? I know everybody's going to sell you a course, blah, blah, blah. We're not. The reason we're not is, like I said, we are some of Shopify's top affiliate partners in the world. And they pay us a commission every time we send them somebody to get a Shopify account. So we actually really don't have to charge you anything to build you a store. And we don't want to sell you a course. We want to give it to you. Because Shopify actually won't pay us unless you keep your store for 90 days. At least at the time I'm filming this, it's 90 days. That's wild, right?
Oh, because you can.
We have to teach you and train you and educate you and make sure, check out Monaco.
Yeah, basically big slime.
Me and Monaco behind me. We have to make sure you know what you're doing, or else obviously you're not going to keep your store for the full 90 days. So it doesn't do us any good to, do anything, trying to sell you a course or anything. We're just going to give you everything that you need. So what you need to do is click the link that you see right below. Join us on this live stream. It's happening today. We will build your store before we even get off of this thing, right? It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Nobody else is doing this. And you can see for yourself if it's telling you the truth because click the link. Literally get started building.
But how did I miss that? I was right there.
Click the link below. We'll build your store for free. We'll see you on the live stream.
Oh, shoot.
All you can do. That's all you can do. That's my game.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I dropped him. I dropped him.
Yeah, and you missed it.
He was on the. He's like. I like that.
I dropped him. Yo, what is you doing? Alexa, play Minx in Miami.
Miami by Morgan Wallen, Lil Wayne.
Alexa, play Minx in Miami.
Here's Minx in Miami by Rick Ross, French Montana, and Max B on Amazon Music.
Maybach music.
One of those moments. Let's go. Minx in Miami, shorty know that I'm a winner. Killed my little man, so you know I got it. Losing all my homies got me living with regrets. Blood, sweat, and tears help me get up out of jail. Look into the eyes of a motherfucking boss. Struggle growing up, I refuse to take a loss. Getting to the money and I hope it lasts forever. Lonely at the top, but life could be better. New Orleans mansion in the French Quarter. All my jewels on me like the legend Rich Porter. Pretty boy swag with a Rick Ross aura. Had to call her back cause she scored that water. All my niggas is rich from hard work.
Alexa, stop.
No, you got to vote. Loaded with good players. These guys are gonna make the right plays. Defend their spots.
You just playing.
Advantage of the defense is there, and it certainly helps when you get shots that you guys cannot get.
Holy, stop ducking. Ball. How do you have him on your team?
I have who?
Him, number 4. He was not on your team last time. They traded foul.
Remember, this is the game. You can touch them over there. Where you going? Show. Do I do that to you? Damn.
That's why
Sure, couldn't even get a good shot. And I get
Yeah, because you. How?
oh my God.
So, hit it with the chicken.
Yeah, go show yourself.
Nope. Not to break. Hey. Ah. Oh my God, where you going? Oh my God. God, you're moving like a skateboard. Nope. Yes, it's great.
Alexa, continue song.
No.
God is the greatest, baby, all praise to. On a sunny day, I'm in a dark gray coupe. Gamblers paid off, I just rolled a roll dice. Snorting that white, we was up 4 nights. Still a dope boy till the wheels fall off. Check a bad bitch, then I fuck a raw dog. Change outfits 3 times every day. DoorDash food, new pussy on the way. Bankroll fat, best seats at the game. Get your face cut when you speak a nigga name. City all mine, big props to the game. Money on time, made them count before I came. All my niggas is rich from hard work. Made it out the gutter from hard work. Million is jury, my nigga, my charge fuck. Hard work, we lost in the down fuck. I just wanna elevate. Hot bottles and bad land, let's go celebrate. Coke wave got New York City back breathing. Go tell my sons I'ma claim them as tax season. Did a lot of road things like reading. Shorty took the walls off before I put the house keys. Taking from the start, I ain't forget about that. Slowly at the top, that's where the penthouse at. I might just hit Dubai and forget about rap. But my boys out the box, time to take a town that. Hustling action on the beach about 30 mil. When it comes to the culture with a holy grail, don't take a copper break before a copper roll. From Morocco to the Bronx, bitch, wanna know. All my niggas is bitch from Hollywood. Made it out the gutter from Hollywood. Million is jury, my nigga, my child first. Bomb work, you lost to the dawn first. Bottles of man, let's go celebrate. Come on.
We've measured his performance over the previous 10 games.
Alexis, stop.
Martino.
Pop bottles and let's go celebrate. Meet somebody in the all praise due. Praise due, so in the great creek. Now you're going to roll dice. Yeah.
Oklahoma City. Williams has checked in for Wallace. Shea Gilchrist-Alexander is subbed in for Mitchell. Mark Digno.
Questions you will have.
Taking this moment to
Alright, we just been free balling. He's been free balling and free playing.
What's going on?
Oh, what?
On every possession, modern playstyle places novel demands on players' bodies.
A serious challenge. Okay, Shams. Thanks for that report. Here's Tatum. Hits it.
Guys, but not Tatum.
Shoot from mid-range. SGA passes to Joe. Back to SGA. The kick out to Williams. Pass to Williams. Nice ball movement by Oklahoma City.
Oh my God.
Drills the three. They're getting torched on the perimeter. The last 5 buckets have been threes. Here's Tatum. To be his age, yeah. I don't have memories like that at my age, so. On the way against GA. He started that way.
Oh.
Distance.
What?
GA's got 6 points in the quarter. Man, they're having a hard time defending the truth. That's 3 in a row. The legs the last few years, big men have been the MVP discussion. Enter SGA. Yeah, and BA, this is the scariest part. SGA has room to grow. The guy is still getting.
Oh my God, yo.
Best player in the game. 12 straight points off threes. This defense is not extending very well.
Yo, they don't. Yo, they just can't just stick on a guy.
It's now in this one. They're trailed by 6. He's checked in for Williams. Dort comes in for Chet Holmgren.
How they just be stuck on their feet like that much space be between them where he can get the three up all the time.
He's shooting his first free throw. And White has got the ball here for the Boston Celtics. They held a 12-point lead earlier. Lee Hauser passes the arc. Hangs it in. Their trail by the line. Outside Gilchrist-Alexander. Outside SGA.
Oh my God, yo.
The triple. Williams has got 6 points. Wow. Second of 3. This defense looking very frustrated right now. They're just getting pushed around inside. Oklahoma City, they've got 6 of 9 attempts to go in the second. Looking good.
Touch them, bro.
Celtics lead by 8. Pass to White. It's Brown on the wing. Minute 6 left to play in the second quarter. SGA passes the ball. There's another one for the Thunder. Every coach in this league assistant basket. Three. Thunder trail by 8. Outside SGA. From downtown. And their shots are dropping with more consistency. Celtics have got 7 of 12 shots.
Oh my. What? What?
Oh my God!
Barry's that one. Back it in. Now just a 4-point Celtic lead. And he is doing everything he can to keep his team.
Why is everyone at the 3.8 seconds. I'm making
the shot selection from him right now. He's not settling.
48.
The action after this break.
Wow. Who's up? He is outside.
She don't want to listen.
He is outside.
She don't want to listen, so she get to stay outside.
Pause the game.
Yeah, go ahead. Take her.
Thanks for tuning in. With half the game in the books, a bit of ground to make up for the Oklahoma City Thunder. To me, it starts with their effort. They have to become more active defensively to prevent easy look shots. They have only to slow down the team with good scores.
Matthew doesn't know what IHOP is.
No.
And now, as the season slides,
I'll come outside.
thanks for tuning in. Now we head back to Brian Anderson for the start of the third quarter. Brown having a dominant impact in this game, using all that momentum behind him with power. Not watching the time with the rim. He is giving his fans exactly what they came at.
Oh wait, why did it pause the game? It was supposed to be my ball.
No. You got the ball at halftime. You got the ball in the first at the jump ball.
Williams in a small forward position. The thing about
Why is no one guarding?
he doesn't need a lot of
Because
speed.
Jaylen Brown was in there.
He has a quick release and
Jaylen Brown
runs
is
high on his
doubles.
jumper. That's a great thing. He can
Yep, I know where we're going. Can't lie for me.
Get high for me.
I'm only hitting 3 shots. Huh? And I'm making all of that.
Under trail by 9. That's the Holmgren.
Watch, I'll even make it with it.
On the arc.
I get the ball. We're going to see. Yeah.
You're just doing layups, bro.
That's all you can do.
I'm all jumping all in the air.
3 shots.
You think you're nice?
No question, PA.
No! Ah!
Chicken, 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 Bro, I'm smart. Skip it. I'm smack him in the toilet.
LeBron James, Steph Curry,
Chicken! That game is bad. See, I told you that bad luck. Bro, stop! Give me bad luck again.
You just threw that up. The Vicky more. Oh no, we don't see for still.
Stop it! Good job. Get it! Chicken! Sigma, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. Guess what? Sigma, Sigma, Sigma boy. Sigma boy, Sigma green. Sigma what the? Sigma, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. I'm gonna shoot, okay? 3, 2, 1. Sigma, Sigma, boy, Sigma, boy. Bro, I just got dunked on by this 6'7" kid. After this half court, I did on that kid. It's also that kid. Slippery. I'm wide open. I'm wide open. I'm wide open. Chicken. Bro, why are you looking?
13 to 3 runs.
Give me that.
Damn it.
Nailed the 3 corner. 3 corner. 3 corners. 3 corners. Always throwing the ball. Now we have to throwing the ball. I'm gonna make him happy. Watch us. Chicken. Get it? Shoot it? Fake it?
And then he back off. Like, how do you back off somebody?
Oh my goodness.
You just dunk city with you.
Yeah, because you keep dunking. And it's Green City. That's a green. Bro, get the rebound with your small self. Fuck! 4 seconds left.
Absolutely, even.
Please. Mommy! Please. Fuck. Please. Chicken. Is it first quarter?
Yes.
Bro, I'm losing my 13. What? Jalen Brown or Jason Tatum?
Give his teammates good looks. Yeah, the pass was so.
So everyone knows. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Oh my goodness. Oh my. No, he's not. He smells like dope. Bro! Oh my! Get the ball! Thank you. I'm running now.
Sometimes falls to the point guard to be.
Damian Lillard.
Seems like he always knows.
Lizard! Lizard! Get it! Monkey see, monkey do. Brick! Brick!
Brack.
He's the only one who can shoot.
They always get him while he's standing still.
You know that's a shit down.
Jonah? Jonah?
And it's White in Forshire. And also switch here for Oklahoma City. SGA checks in. Let's check in with our reporter.
S3. No, I'm losing by 70. Dad, imagine someone was losing by 70. It was 3 to 79. Give me. Thank you. Ooh, please. Chicken. Oh, I was gonna say if he missed that 6-1.
Joe's got his first points of the game. This is why they will go to him often. He's going to take and make shots. Now here's Brown. Goes to my Holmgren. Alexander's got 16 in the second half. And Shea has the ability to bring down any defense.
Oh my locks. Well, I can't lock Jason Tatum. 80 to 69. Losing by 20. Are you serious right now? That's so good. Bro, please don't make a shot. I just
Why didn't just make the layup? Sweet chicken. Sweet chicken grease. Look, it came right back to you. That was a good shot. Sweet chicken grease.
Skibbity Rizzle.
Skibbity.
He came back to me.
You're gonna have to take a pause in the break as we go to IAZ.
No! Skibbity Rizzle. I'm gonna get that ball back. Sir, ma'am. Thank you.
Foul, bro.
Cookie. You don't want a cookie? No, thank you. That's a chicken.
Yeah, come on now.
It's not me. They fell at the end. Thank you.
Look at him. Can't even make a layup.
I did.
Why'd you go for a dunk? Why are you trying to shoot?
Because.
Oh my.
Skibbity.
Oh my God. What is going on?
Get it.
Yeah.
Offense trying. Bro.
Here's Mike.
No need to rush.
This is where you can be set.
Bro, shoot the ball. Mom. Not doing anything. Thank you for letting me shoot the ball, sir. Bro, I have to come back in 4 seconds. In 1 sec. In 1 minute. I got dunked on by one person that had 3 people. That's pretty chicken.
God damn it. Ooh.
What the? No! Mama! Brick! Thank you! Whatever, the basketball. Give me that full, sir.
Why did you follow me, bro?
You like the chicken? Oh, no. Bro, stop.
Oh, man.
Bro, I need to come back. Stop.
Skippity, skip, skippity, bippity, boo, boo.
Bro, let me come back.
Oh,
let me come back.
There's no coming back for 44 seconds.
Bro, I'm gonna.
It's about over. NBA, all they really need to do is just work that clock.
Bro.
And this game.
Ha!
Finishing the game.
This is the only time you're beating me.
My first win on a Saturday, I said BTA, go, BTA, go, BTA. I said BTA. I said 213 is my number, and it's always on the screen. And it's a I
can come back. I can really come back. I can really come back. Alexander is. I'm sorry. Bro! No, stop. Stop! Yeah, I'm not coming back. Yeah, this is the only time you're beating me, stupid.
Yo, don't turn it up. I want to see the stats, bro.
Bro, no one cares about the stats.
The winners do. Winners care.
It's really just the game.
It is. But it's the game that I beat you, and it was equally distributed whoopage. This is BTA, only one person, 39.
Literally gave it to him the whole time.
Yo, bro, he missed 3 shots.
Don't care.
He missed 3. He missed 2. He missed 2. He missed 3. They both missed 3 shots, bro. 14 for 31. Who was glazing? Who was gunning? Who was gunning? You always gave him the shot. 9 for 24.
9 for 24.
9 for 24. My whole team only shot 4.
Huh?
We only shot 4 3-pointers, and you shot 5 more than I did. I whooped your way, BTA. Alright, we about to go get something to eat. Will it be back? For his whoopage is mad. We'll be back, friends.
When we get back from the 105.